I'm going to pass over to Pat now. Pat, who traveled with us with Rockwell College last year, as they're going back again this year. So, Pat, I'll let you give your view on the trips to China.
How you doing? Thanks very much, Neil, for inviting me here. Look, I just want to echo the first thing that Neil said. It's about safety. And I think we as teachers have very limited shelf life when it comes to school tours because there's always an incident, or we always hear of our neighbouring school having an incident. So this is far and away the safest thing that you can do, probably sustainable from a teaching point of view. I think there's a couple of things. The kids are more inhibited as well. They're less sure of themselves. They haven't been to Paris, they haven't been to Beijing before, they have been to Paris before. So that's one very important comparison. I will only refer to it in class as the exchange. It's not a tour. So, and it has all the connotations that an exchange actually has. So I'll give you a little bit of my own history in terms of dealing with Neil. And in 2024, between November and December, uh, a colleague of mine and a couple of other schools traveled with Neil, and we went out really with a view to doing something for the year, this academic year, starting September 25. And we were there for 8 days, and both my colleague and I were blown away by what we saw. And the plan really was for probably around now, but Neil made our wishes come true, and we actually got a group that travelled last April. Now we only took 20. That's all we would take, but I have to say, in my 25 years of organising school tours, it was the best that was ever there. And I don't trust the companies; I do them myself. So it was the best trip that I'd ever been on, and the kids absolutely loved it. So that's just how I'm involved and how I will be back. So last year's had 46. Sorry, last year had 20. This year had 46. And we're actually to the limit of the bus size. We could get more if we wanted them. So just from a teaching point of view, as a transition year coordinator and transition year teacher, I just want to tell you what I think it has to offer, and certainly what it offers to us, where every school is different, but this is the selling point for us. But firstly, we can get help, educational help. So we get someone from the Confucius Institute to come up once every 2 weeks to prepare the students. So they learn to find, the niceties really of getting around China. And in particular, to learn that the Chinese people are very gentle people, and they speak very softly. So it's to get used to that, because we Irish can be a little bit loud. To learn the culture. And so, as some of you guys would be aware, the TYs are expected to produce a portfolio. So I've actually taken to teaching the Chinese culture myself. So I talk about, say, their food, the history of their cities, the Great Wall, Tiananmen Square. And for me, a huge one would be to learn about the 100 years of humiliation. So you're preparing your children for the need to be mannerly and polite. And it's such an important thing. So that's what I think it offers, and it is the basis now. It's one of the biggest parts of our transition year because it fits in, and we can also get the home ec teacher involved. We can get the history teachers involved. We can get the geography teachers involved. So it's a big part of what we're doing right now. I suppose another part really that the lads really enjoyed last year was getting to the vocational schools and looking at the vocational training. And as Neil said, where they get to sit down and they sit down with people their own age, and they learn to do things with them. And I thought that was brilliant. In particular, even the start off, I think it's such a clever thing making the what do you call them that they have when you welcome people to a city? What do you call them, Neil?
Sorry,
What
who?
what
Sorry.
making what is it that they make when you're
Oh,
being
the
welcomed to it?
dumplings. The dumplings.
Dumplings. Sorry, my
Yeah,
apologies. Yeah, the
yeah.
dumplings. That sounds naff enough, but they loved it, and they got to do it with some of the others. Um, from a teacher's point of view, I would say, you don't have the worry of the alcohol, you don't have the worry of absconding. And another thing that I found that worked really well for us, we were able to kit out our students and we could pick up the clothing in China. So therefore, if we went somewhere, all of ours were dressed the same. They were very, very easily picked out. And because they were away from home, they were more biddable. They were happier to do it. So I think the most stressful part of it, to be honest, is if your kids start arriving late. You'll always get one who'll start testing you. And that's what I found the hardest because otherwise, there's nowhere for them to go. They're too easily picked out. They're dressed as we are. And, so I thought it's really good from that point of view. Um, just to probably sum up, I would say the benefits, most definitely safety. Everything is secure, everything. The other thing I suppose that probably Neil hasn't really touched on is it's all in. So if you're paying 1,500, 2,000 euro, that's what you're paying. And that's such a relief to go back to parents with that. Um, and the food is exceptional. I suppose lads being able to sit around and they're all eating food from a Lazy Susie in a very, very good restaurant. It's such an occasion. And I think they loved that as much as anything. They just loved that. The other thing as well is the hotels. It is the law in China that if you're staying in a hotel, it must be a 4-star. So you're staying in very, very good accommodation. But everything is an education for them. And I suppose the other thing as well is it's just one flight. So you go from Dublin and you land in Beijing, and that is it. And in our case, this year now, we will be doing Beijing and Shanghai, but that's an adventure too, because we will be taking the fast train. And so many now, it was something that I requested from Neil that we do take the fast train because that's such an experience as well, where it can hit up to 350 kilometers an hour. That's amazing. Or if you happen to be flying, the flight from Beijing to Shanghai is just phenomenal. You can see everything that's coming in front of you. Look, I suppose I'd sum it up when students are as they should be, there is a huge carrot at the end of the trip. And certainly if it's Shanghai, you can go to the plaza and pick up all sorts of goods very, very cheaply. I would imagine Shenzhen is just as competitive that way, but the kids loved it. And I'm an economics teacher, and one of the students haggled particularly badly, and he's a very good student. He gets reminded of it about once a week. And some of the ones that would surprise you really, really did well with the haggling. And they still have their clothing. So it's so good. Look, to sum it up, in the 1980s, when you had a school tour to Paris, they were educational. But for me, that wouldn't be where I would go anymore because Shanghai right now is more novel, probably, than Paris was in the 1980s. So that's how I feel about it. I mean, if any of you guys want to contact me or get my opinions, I cannot speak highly enough of it, and that's just being honest. And the numbers speak for themselves because our students came back and said the same thing, so much so that our numbers doubled. So if anyone has any questions or if Neil has any questions for me, I'd gladly take them.